Good morning. Good. Well, you know how it is, or whatever time it is you're seeing this. Morning for me. Good afternoon. Good night. Have a good evening. Hope all is well. Again, whatever time it is you're seeing this. So, on our faith walk, right? We've been through a lot. 11 tenets, four transition steps. About to transition relative to the steps. Transition into uh, our 5 challenges. I tell you what, I'm going to skip all the way down to the question because you know me. If you've been watching this, then you know me by now. I've got questions and questions work for me. But are you happy with your life as a Christ follower? Are you happy with your life, with what you're doing, how you're doing it, your thoughts, your prayer life, your if you are, phenomenal. Help someone else. You know, if you are, phenomenal. Keep it up. Look for areas to improve. I mean, you know, that's life in general, right? But it's certainly life as a Christ follower. If you're not, let's make some changes. And I don't think those changes, oftentimes, I don't believe scripturally, I don't believe those changes need to be that complicated. It's pretty simple. That's one of the things I've said it so many times, and I'll say it again. One of the things that just truly amazes me about Christ and Scripture as a whole is its amazing simplicity. While at the same time, when you really dive into Scripture, it's amazing complexity. While at the same time, it's amazing timelessness. And that's, you know, so like I said, if we stay focused on the simplicity of Christ's messages and Christ's teachings and the way he asks us to walk as Christ followers, I think we're staying in the right ballpark. Does it make sense? I hope it does. Get a little vitamin C, OFFEE. So here we go. So just to recap, really, and ultimately we're going to end with the question we just asked. So just as a recap, just blasting through the 11 tenets, and there's more. I don't doubt that for a second. Make your own list. You know. Tenet number 1: pray real prayers. Tenet number 2: focus on the most necessary thing. Taken from Luke chapter 10, in where Jesus said to Martha, he said, "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but few are needed. Indeed, only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." If you remember the story, Jesus is at Mary and Martha's house. Martha is preparing, is being hospitable, you know, and Mary is at Jesus's feet, focusing on what he has to say, how he has to say it, what he's calling her to do, what he's calling us to do. Yeah, focus on the most necessary thing. Tenet number 3: God is for you. That is not a question. It is not, is God for you? It is, God is for you. All through Scripture. Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Come to me, all who are blank, and I will give you rest. Fill in the blank, right? Whatever it is, doesn't matter. God is for you. Tenet number 4: begin with the end in mind. Very interesting one, because I thought that was amazingly simple and turned out it was amazingly impactful. Know who you are to God. Tenet number 5. I'm going to stick out on that one for just a second too. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9 and 10. And what I want you to hear in this is exactly that: who you are to God. Okay. Peter, the guy that denied Jesus, as you know, or you can read about it, 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 9 and 10. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Once you were not a people, now you are the people of God. Once you had not received mercy, now you have received mercy. Bullseye. Absolutely. Dead on the money. Yes. That is how God sees you. A chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession. That's big. I hope you can feel that if you're struggling in any way today. Number 6, tenet number 6, live a life of impact. Tenet number 7, position yourself to hear from God. Tenet number 8, bear fruit. Tenet number 9, walk in grace. Tenet number 10, Jesus' most common directive to us, love one another. Tenet number 11, do not judge. Real easy to do. It's the culture in which we live. It's the world in which we live. We always like to point fingers, especially away from us. Don't judge. So there's the 11 tenets. We followed that up. We just finished it last week with the 4 transition steps. Transition step number 1, dig into your starting points based on tenet number 4, which was begin with the end in mind. Transition step number 2, dig into who you are, how you are, and who is there for you. It's based on tenet number 3, God is for you. And tenet number 5, know who you are to God. Transition step number 3, dig into your mission based on tenet number 6, which is live a life of impact. And finally, transition step number 4, dig into where you're headed and how you're going to get there. Big stuff. Based on tenet number 2, focus on the most necessary thing. And tenet number 7, position yourself to hear from God. Do you know where you're headed, spiritually speaking? And I don't mean heaven. I mean, do you know whose life you're going to impact? Do you know how you're going to impact that life? Do you know how you're going to live out your life in front of other people, in front of other believers? Do you know where you're headed? And do you know how you're going to get there? You do it in business. You do it in work. You do it in sports. You do it in so many other facets of your life, my life, our lives. Do you know where you're headed? Do you know how you're going to get there? So, kind of finish that out, the tenets and the transition steps with this one verse, rather encompassing verse. Come near to God, and God will come near to you. James chapter 4, verse 8. James, Jesus' half-brother. James, Jesus' half-brother, who denied that he was Messiah until the very end, until after Jesus was raised from the dead. That's big. He knew. I mean, from very young, he knew Jesus, but he did not know Jesus. And ultimately said, "Come near to God, and God will come near to you." Man, there's a lot of hope in that statement. There's a lot of peace in that statement. There's a lot of forgiveness in that statement. There's a lot of you and me in that statement. We need it, don't we? Right? Some transitioning, like I said, the 4 transition steps. Dig into your starting point, dig into who you are, how you are, and where you're headed, and who is there for you. Step number 3, dig into your mission. Step number 4, dig into where you're headed and how you're going to get there. Now we move towards the final portion of this, which are the 5 challenges. I tell you what, I'll go into them just because they help answer the question, and that's what all this is going to be. Are you happy with your life as a Christ follower? Luke 9:23, deny yourself, take up your cross daily, and follow me. How you doing with that? Galatians 2:20, I no longer live, but Christ now lives in me. How's that working for you? Is there room for improvement? Don't answer that question. There's always room for improvement because Jesus is always worth it. The 5 challenges: tenet number 1, pray real prayers. Tenet number 9, walk in grace. Tenet number 8, bear fruit. Tenet number 11, do not judge. And finally, the final challenge that we'll look into over the next several weeks is love. Jesus's most common directive: love one another. So I'll go back to the question that I started with. Are you happy with your life as a Christ follower? How's that look for you? Evaluate that. Spend some time in prayer. Spend some time in contemplating that. Are you happy with your life as a Christ follower? Where do you need to change? What kind of changes do you need to make? What would you like to do over the next 7 days? Maybe it's 5 minutes. Maybe it's 35 minutes. You know what it is, but what would you like to implement into your daily walk with Christ, into your daily life, that will impact your life for years to come, that you begin to do every day for the next 7 days? What might that be? And whose life, once you work that into your life, into your daily routine, whose life could that impact? Whose life could be changed because of the change you make over the next 7 days? I don't know. You do. Hopefully you do. But anyway, the changes are worth it. Be blessed, everyone. See you next time.